Hey guys, how's it going? You know, nothing makes me more afraid than cutting vintage Koolshade. I don't ever really get too into my own head or nervous about building things using expensive components, but for whatever reason, cutting Koolshade for a TIE fighter is like this terrifying, stressful event. Koolshade is very, very hard to find at this point. If you don't know what it is the vintage stuff. It is a bronze louver material that was used in between double pane glass in industrial applications. You can see it's angled and it is a solar shade, so cuts down on the heat and the sun. This is what ILM used on TIE fighters and other models, but this is the screen material. Incredibly hard to find these days. 21 louvers an inch. This is the vintage old stuff. It is black anodized bronze, I believe. It's louvered and woven. Crazy. You can get the modern stuff, but it's 17 louvers an inch, and believe me, that extra 4 louvers really makes a huge difference. Yes, 4. Really makes a huge difference in the look, unfortunately. So, you know, this was $600 10 or 15 years ago in a quantity enough to do one TIE fighter. I don't even know what it is now because you literally can't find it. So this stuff has to get cut and inserted into the panels on both sides. So you have to cut 24 pie pieces. Each pie piece is going to be a little different. It is best to make a template, an insane template, is what I do. These are plastic art templates I made. I make them fresh for every build because I just don't trust that my stars are, you know, exact. Stars, you say? What are stars? Okay, so ILM made TIE fighter wings using castings of wing stars. This is a fan replica. I have a casting of an original, and I'm going to repattern it at some point, but this is the last of the fan builds that I had. I decided to make it an Empire Strikes Back tie. So what happens is you take one of these stars, you take this Plastruck H-beam, and you cut it to fit around the perimeter. And then you take Plastruck T-strip, and you put that in the top channel of the H, and that creates the outer, equator, whatever. On A New Hope, the H-beam went right to the edge of this wing star and was cut out, and this creates the end of the wing. On Empire Strikes Back, for whatever reason, and I think it's because it's stronger, it was constructed a little differently. So the H-beam continues, and the wing stars were cut down a little bit, and then an extra C channel was placed and was painted black to sort of make it look like the shade extended, and it's much more rigid. This is actually very strong. But only in Empire and Jedi was that done. So if you look at the back of this, I have laser cut a spacer. The original wing stars had this built in. The fans versions do not. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to cut the Koolshade to fit inside this lip, and it sockets up into that other part of the H beam and rests. And it has to be a correct orientation. The louvers have to go in a correct way. This way on this side, that way on that side, running up and down, running up and down. The end shows you where it runs perpendicular. And in between each is a piece of black art paper. So once you've cut all the shade, once you sandwich the paper in between it, this star will go onto this, and it just sort of locks in. I can actually pressure fit it. I've cut everything so close. I don't know exactly how ILM built theirs. I built this very slowly and meticulously, and just to show you how bananas this I decided to make the exploding TIE fighter that hit the asteroid I have some vintage Koolshade that's a little rough and ready in a couple places, and I'm like, I can add that to this. It uses everything. So this particular wing has been pre-distressed. If you look at vintage photos, Ken Ralston's hammering it with he's just wailing on it with a hammer. So this took a while to really get all of the angles correct, and you know, a little bit of it is just supposition, and I also kind of make it a little nicer. But you can see where this one's gonna go with all of the Koolshade just crumpled, which I think is gonna be a really cool look. So, and it uses slightly less. Well, maybe not. But I get to use the stuff that was a little scratched in a couple places. So yeah, my template, this is wing number 1. This is the outer perimeter, this is the inner, so that faces outside, that faces towards the ball, that's the top. So we'll see what happens when I cut it. Okay, so as you can see, here's the wing star, here's one of the templates. You can see where I'm going with that. So I'll start cutting. And like I said, this is one of the most, if not the most stressful things you can do as a studio scale modeler. I like to use tin snips, or whatever these dudes are. You'll be happy to know that even if you have terrible, terrible hands with poor grippiness, like I do, that you can do this procedure without too much trouble. Alright, so I look at my louver sheet. I see that the louvers are heading in a thisward direction. So that means this will be the top for this. And I am going to, it's a big piece. So, you know, this is made of metal, and it kind of has odd behavior sometimes. Like I said, this is an old section. See, like, some things are a little wonky. You don't want it to be wonky, so I think from here down, from here over is bad, unfortunately. Beggars can't be choosers. So, what I like to do, just so I'm keeping track correctly, I am cutting the outer side first, and I just sort of line this up with the louvers to make sure that everything's perpendicular. Actually, I can do that with my grid. So this doesn't look too bad. You gotta treat this stuff carefully. Weirdly. Alright, so first cut can be right about there. Painter's tape is great just for keeping yourself on track. You don't want to mess this up because you run the risk of taking out a whole section and then you're kind of fucked. So, alright, and I'll trim away the top when that's done. Alright, so yeah, this whole section's sort of shit, unfortunately. And there will be scraps, depending, and I like to use the scraps for other builds. You know, if you have a piece big enough, that's a Millennium Falcon intake. Alright, so anyway, so that's the top. And you've got like another top. You kind of see where you are with what you can use. The good news is that top will orient that way, but you can sometimes get another piece there. Tessellate. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, so, oh Christ, I hate doing this. Terrifying. So yeah, this is also all dinged up. So all of that is going to go into the for something else bin. I got to get this started at least. I will take my time and lay out all the parts so that I know I'm getting an optimal arrangement, but I just wanted to show you guys how you start doing it. Cut it, and you'll see that you're sometimes releasing little, they almost look like flechettes, and they act like it too. You want to wear shoes when you're doing this. You want to vacuum when you're done, especially if you have pets. This can very easily, I have had a piece go into my foot. Super not fun. It's a hell of a splinter. And you pick up all of your deadly shards, move them to the side. Actually, it's not a lot. Sometimes you hit it and they just go all over the floor. It's terrifying. All right, so here we go. Was that 5 and 4? 1 and 5. All right. Outer louvers are going in this direction. This should merrily sit up there. We'll trim it a little more. Are we good? Oh, you're like a friction fit. So I'll trim this a little more. You can kind of see how it's shimmery anyway. This is the outer side, so see how it goes opaque? It has that like nice sheen to it. You can kind of see where it's a little wavy, so I'll have to massage that a little bit. But that's what you're looking for. That's what you're going for. And again, once it's backed with opaque black paper, you don't get the see-through effect. But you will see through to the matte surface of the paper, which I think gives you a lot of that effect. So, all right, I'm going to do this 23 more times and come back, probably on a different day. And one more thing I like to do with my templates when I have finished cutting and fitting a piece, I like to give that side a big old check mark. It may seem like a simple thing, and it might not occur to you, but you can get disoriented very easily, and it would be a terrible thing to cut a piece with the wrong orientation. So here's that paper I was telling you about. Clearly, I did TIE Fighter wings last time with this stuff, which puts that at about, God, 8 years ago, 6 years ago? I don't know, it's been a while. So yeah, this is either Strathmore or Canson art paper. Try to get a hot press or something without a lot of tooth. This has an ever so slight texture to it. It's going to be sold probably for like pastel uses or something in the art store. You can just get it online, probably Dick Blick or whatever. But this part's very low stress because the sheets are a lot less expensive. So again, just cut it to where you need to go. And as you can see, when it's backed against the Koolshade, whoa! Now it's completely opaque, but we've got that TIE Fighter look, that anodized bronze metal coolness. Alright, so I have my inner facing wing slotted into the H at the top, place it into the hollow that I've made with the wing stars, check to make sure the louvers are running correctly. A little piece of art paper there, and then outer H. There's just enough room to get everybody to work together. It's incredible. It's pretty amazing, to be honest. Then this will glue down into here. Actually, I think I can make this one pressure fit too. Tolerances are pretty crazy. Click there, click there. I'll have to do a little gluing, but I would glue anyway. But yeah, I've built this so that it practically snaps into place. Got one pie piece done, inner and outer. And like I said, barely enough room for it to fit. It's pretty hardy, to be honest. And the ESB construction of the wing stars, or the wings, with the stars being slightly smaller, really adds to the rigidity of this thing. It's surprisingly strong. So I'm going to do that 24 more times. No, 22 more times. And I'll see you next time. Okay, a couple days later, I've gotten a haircut. I've been cutting this Koolshade, and I have a couple tips and tricks that I probably did last time and just forgot because it's been so long, but I'm going to preserve it in video form so that I don't forget and maybe can help you. So, depending on where you get your Koolshade from, it may be a little scraggly. As I had said before, you have to orient the piece correctly, and that means the louvers are coming down towards you. That's the outer facing piece. If you find a piece that has a little bit of scratching on it, or just, you know, general patina from age, you can use either side depending on which way you flip it, right? So you pick the cleanest side. I'm not working with scrap, but I'm working with definitely old store stock. I've got a couple rolls for myself that are like minty nice, and I've got a couple rolls that are like this, and because this is the explodey version, a lot of these pieces are perfect for that. That being said, if you get a piece, even the minty ones will sometimes have a little bit of raggedness at the top. You know, you're orienting the louvers in that direction, so this is the correct orientation for this piece. I'll have to unwave it a little bit. Pick a clean row and just use some nippers and cut that entire row straight, clean. That way you have something to butt up against the H-beam hollow, and you have something for your template to lock onto. And then I have been taking painter's tape and taping, you know, the perimeter, the edges. I realized something, and I like to cut a little extra just for wiggle room. But then, like I had said before, the problem I was running into was when I went to trim, every time I make that cut, little flechettes of this louver material just fly. And that stuff can fly across the room and eventually make their way into your, you know, delicate bare feet, or whatever. So, a little late to the game, cutting on the first day, I realized if you take that painter's tape and you mark the edge where you want to trim back to, fold it over onto the other side. This is so obvious to me now. So fold it over and just make sure you get a really nice, it doesn't stick perfectly because there's not a lot of surface area because they're louvers, but you can get a little bit of grip to it, you know, if you pinch. And then when you're cutting, all those little baby pieces, all those hundreds of pieces, stay inside the tape, and then you just have this clean piece of tape you can put into the trash can. Super obvious now, wasn't initially. So that's a great tip that I'm going to try like hell to remember for next time, and that's also why I'm shooting this video, so I'll remember it for next time. And just like that, we're done. I sculpted an asteroid for a companion piece to the TIE Fighter. As you can see, the TIE Fighter is finished. The damaged wings came out beautifully. It was a hell of a lot of fun to just, you know, get in there and really crumple everything. It's still surprisingly rigid, even with the damaged wings being, you know, so loosey-goosey. I did make a concession, this, and this, instead of the cardstock paper that's in these 3 pies and those 6. This is actually black painted aluminum foil. So it's actually a metal, so you can get that lovely crumple effect. And I just think that it really, it really came out exactly the way I wanted it to. So I highly recommend making a damaged TIE Fighter. And I hope all the Koolshade tips and tricks came in handy. And until next time, bye bye.